This conference will now be recorded.
Well, good morning, everybody. I suspect we'll have some folks join us here a little bit late this morning, but I wanted to take a moment and welcome everybody today. This has been a busy meeting day already for most of us, and I want to thank you for joining us today. I do want to let you know that this conference is being recorded, and that members of the media have been invited to participate as well. And I thought today we'd dedicate our time to bringing people up to speed as to what we've done, especially as it relates to the disaster relief and recovery. I know that there's still many people that are still trying to get services back in certain areas. I'm one of them. I'm down to one shower at my house and three faucets. So, but the good news is that one shower has hot water, so I'll take that. But it's been a challenging for a lot of folks, and at the same time, it's also been worthy of noting that how well the city and the county and the university and so many other businesses and other individuals, many on this call, have responded to this unexpected emergency and to keep Nacogdoches going and growing. And you're all to be commended for your great work on this situation. So I will tell you that, just to update you on the chamber end, we assisted in the communications through this period, disseminating information from Oncor and from city officials and county officials, trying to keep our members aware of, first of all, the outages and the water situation, and then secondarily, we tried to disseminate information about applying for disaster recovery to try to get the information out on that, and our community partners were generous in sharing that information, and I thank my staff colleagues for their great work in disseminating that information, especially Kelly, that worked tirelessly under very difficult circumstances trying to find an internet service that could work through the process. It wasn't easy when we were hopping between the house and the office trying to find an internet system that worked, but we got the information out. I will tell you that we have Nancy Windham and our friends from the SBDC and others that probably have more information about disaster relief and recovery, and hopefully we'll be able to hear from them a little later in this call today. So with that in mind, why don't we get started here today? I'm pleased to welcome, first of all, I see that we have, I'm going to go in reverse order on the agenda today. I think we have, where are you? There you are, Jessica. Good morning, Jessica Sowell. Jessica, I thought I'd put you on the spot. This is kind of a public speaking challenge today. So you want to kind of give us a sense of what's going on?
Sure. So we've had some, believe it or not, good COVID stuff this week. I know we didn't give out a lot of COVID information during the snowstorm because, of course, more pressing matters were, how you get power and water and things like that. We have started our new COVID reporting system where we're giving out our trend lines on Tuesdays, and then Thursdays will be kind of the vaccine information as far as how many doses have been allocated to our community, how many people are fully vaccinated or have a partial dose. So we've started that this week and have had good feedback from that. Yesterday, the city and county and all of our community partners had a vaccination clinic at the Expo Center and did about 1,100 doses in one day, which we were pretty proud of. We have another vaccination clinic scheduled for Thursday where we're planning on giving out 1,600 doses in one day. That's kind of, it's more than we've done in the past, but we think our system is kind of a well-oiled machine at this point. I was there yesterday and it kind of looked like the Chick-fil-A drive-through. They were, putting, signing in people, having them do their paperwork, getting directly in line, getting a shot, and then waiting. So it was a very smooth process. Those shot clinics are still being filled by doctor's offices. So when medical center, memorial, or another provider has vaccine doses, they are partnering with our physician association, who then contacts the doctors that have signed up and giving them a certain number of spots. And then the doctors are going ahead and scheduling their patients. And so that's worked very well. We had a good group yesterday. We anticipate another good one Thursday. And of course, through all this, our biggest partner who's been so helpful is the Sfa School of Nursing. There's no way we could do any of this without them. We had our student nurses out there yesterday giving shots, and they were so fast. They were so happy the whole time. They were excited to get to help their community and actually practice some of these skills they're learning in the classroom. And so we would never be able to do something like this without that great resource here in Nacogdoches. So we're very thankful for them. We also have some free COVID testing options. I know people are focused mainly on vaccines right now, but testing is still important if you think you've been exposed to COVID or you're feeling awful. Curative Testing is their name. They are doing free kind of do-it-yourself swab test. They're set up with a little kind of booth in the Brookshire Brothers on South Street parking lot. It's free test for anybody. You can just do walk-up, or you can schedule online with them. But you walk up, you swab your own mouth, and then you get results in 24 to 48 hours. So that's always a great resource, because we know some people don't have a primary care doctor. They rely on clinics, don't have insurance, something like that. And so this is a free option for them. So that's where we are this week.
Great, thank you very much, Jessica. I appreciate that. Jessica, is it my understanding that we're now permitted for the restaurants and the retailers to 75%?
We are. We hit our 7 days under 15% right kind of at the beginning of our snowstorm. And so our inspectors have been communicating with the restaurants and letting them know. We just didn't have a full big media release because we were in the middle of snowpocalypse, I guess. So we are at 75%, and we are putting together kind of some new messaging packages like we did last time, where it's still important to remind people to wear their mask and wash their hands and do social distancing as much as possible. But our restaurants and establishments can go back up to 75%.
Well, that's good news, and hopefully it'll continue in a more positive direction. They've struggled so much through this period. So thank you very much, Jessica. Appreciate that. I did notice on here that we have been joined by my counterpart in the beautiful city of Tyler, Texas, I think, Henry Bell. Henry, I want to welcome you to our call. If you're on, I'm assuming that that's you. But having said that, why don't we continue along with our reports? Gary Lee, what's going on with the United Way?
Right now, we're eating a nice egg McDonald, and yes, Charlotte, I'm eating the potato Kenny. It's a lot of points. Our thing is disaster recovery at this point. Wayne, I enjoyed working with you too over that period of time to get a truckload of water that arrived too late. But anyway, Keith Kiplinger, Fire Chief Keith Kiplinger, asked us to the United Way to put up the disaster recovery system, if you will, and we do have that up. You can donate a little bit. You don't have to break the bank. It's already getting on up there. You can find that website on our Facebook page, which is Nacogdoches Area United Way, or it's on our website, which the website is unitedwaynac.org. So I'll maybe put that up in a little bit. I don't know. But the idea of it is not like our COVID fund where we raised a certain amount of money, stopped it, divided it up, and allocated it to agencies that really needed money right at the 1st of March when they were scrambling and straining their budgets. This one is going to be a permanent, ongoing disaster fund. We hope to build it to whatever amount. I haven't really put the plan together. That's kind of how I operate. But hopefully we'll have it in place substantially enough for our next big disaster, which I had a conversation with Greg Sowell in their emergency center. Those guys worked very hard, Mario and Greg and Keith. It was really neat to see that happening, and Larissa and Bethany, all of them. But anyway, our job was kind of logistics. But I looked at Greg and he said, you know, here we are. We've introduced to Nacogdoches the COVID disease and now the winter storm. And what's next, Gary Lee? And I said earthquake. And he asked me never to say that word again. But anyway, there'll be a disaster, and hopefully we'll be better prepared as a united way, small and mighty, to provide some relief at that time to agencies. This is primarily for our agencies because they really are on the ground. Everybody was scrambling through the winter storm, and I'll just forego all of the stories so we can move on with the meeting. But thank you all that did that and worked so hard to keep us solvent and alive through that storm. Live united.
And thank you, Gary Lee, for all your hard work in disseminating those 22 pallets of water that we were able to get around town. It was a lot of fun. For those of you who don't know it, Anheuser-Busch and our friends locally at R&K Distributors were kind enough to donate literally thousands and thousands of cans of water. I will tell you, there were a lot of people disappointed when they saw Anheuser-Busch and those Budweiser labels on there and realized that it was water at the end of the day. But having said that, it was very generous of them, and we had a lot of fun doing it through the process. So thank you very much, Gary Lee. I do see my colleague from the NISD, our communications director, Les Leinberger, on the phone. Good morning, Les.
Good morning, Wayne. I hope everyone's doing well. It's good to see you all. I wanted to give you all an update on where we stand for our school calendar, how things look for the rest of the way. I want to let you know that next week we will still have our spring break. That will be the week of March 8th through March 12th. It mirrors the spring break for Stephen F. Austin State. I also want to let you know that this Friday, March 5th, will still be a student holiday, and it will be a teacher and staff workday professional development time, but this will still be able to be a student holiday, as will April 2nd, which is Good Friday. And we're working on a way for our staff to be able to take off Good Friday as well. Because of the way school districts in Texas are required to keep track of student attendance now, it gives us some flexibility when it comes to missing class time for bad weather. And a student in Texas is required to attend school for 75,600 minutes, to make a long story short. And we have been able to schedule in additional minutes this year. So we were able to absorb the 2 days that we missed last month or back in January for the first winter storm we've had. And now we are seeking a waiver from the state for the time we missed in February, along with, I'm sure, hundreds of other school districts. So that means that we'll be able to follow, for the most part, our holiday schedule for the rest of the year. But I know there had been some questions out in the community about whether or not we would actually have spring break. Yes, we're still having spring break. This Friday, yes, it will still be a student holiday, as will be Good Friday. And on Monday, March 15th, something we've added in, that will be a virtual learning day for our students, while our staff catch up on some things related to professional development. Staff will also have an opportunity to receive testing for the coronavirus, since there's a possibility they may be around some different family groups, that sort of thing. So I just wanted to let everyone know where we stand on that, and that moving forward, more than anything, first and foremost, because we've actually had that phone call a number of times here, yes, we will have spring break next week for our students. Wayne, that's what I wanted to mention today, and certainly be happy to take any questions as well.
Les, do you folks have a sense of the damage assessment from the storm?
Are you talking about a dollar figure or?
Just in terms of how impactful it was on the facilities?
Well, every facility and every campus we've had suffered some amount of damage. Now there's a range in there to where relatively minor all the way up to it caused a big problem. And there's even yesterday, our facilities crews were still finding some problems that had creeped up to where it was, instead of being a massive leak like we saw at some of our campuses, it was more of what you might call an ooze or a drip. But some of our campuses, for example, Brooks Quinn Jones Elementary, a portion of the sprinkler system, the fire retardant system, froze and burst back during that cold week, and thankfully our Nacogdoches Fire Department realized what was going on. They got there before any of our staff did, and were able to start cutting off water to the campus to limit the damage. And even just last week, after we reopened, we had to up and close McMichael Middle School because a major water line broke and cut off water to the campus. So every one of our facilities, to some extent, suffered some problems. And it's just like everybody else already knows. Our buildings are not designed to take on that kind of cold temperatures, and so we certainly had problems from it. And the Daily Sentinel and KTRE have both reported on the hard work that our maintenance and facility crews have been doing to catch everything up, get everything repaired so we can get students back into in-person instruction.
Thank you, Les. I appreciate that update, and obviously we recognize that was a challenging time for everybody. But representing the hospitality industry, the director of the Nacogdoches Convention and Visitors Bureau. Good morning, Sherry.
Good morning, Wayne. Good morning, everybody. I don't know about y'all, but I am sort of a lifetime learner, and I like to collect little facts, and I put them in this little imaginary bag of mine that I call my Gee Whiz bag. And so I want to start off with a few items for your own Gee Whiz bags. The Spring Break Edition. Recent Traveler Sentiment Survey shows that 12.4% of American travelers have a spring break trip planned this year. And of that 12.4%, 53.6% of these travelers will travel over 500 miles for their trip, and 67.9% say it's important that they visit a new destination for this trip. Beach destinations are, of course, popular, as are national parks in rural areas, and luxury hotels appear to be the most common lodging options for these spring break travelers. More and more travel trends are showing sort of a resurgence of what travel and tourism looked like in the 50s and 60s and 70s as the interstate system was being implemented across the United States. Lodging preferences for travel over the next 3 months appear to have shifted from the early pandemic, which showed an increase in people wanting to stay in Airbnbs and VRBOs as opposed to hotels. 48.1% have a stronger preference for staying in a hotel, which is up from 41.3% in March of last year, while 19.8% showed a strong preference for home rental, down from 30.3% last March. National anxiety, unlike my own, shows to be in decline. Americans are feeling safer both at home and with travel. And although a majority still feel unsafe with international travel, Ted Cruz notwithstanding, and conventions, large group meetings, their proportions avoiding conventions, which is 58.5%, and international travel, which is 67%, are at record lows. So slowly we are starting to see signs of recovery. Now, we won't be fully recovered to 2019 facts and figures until 2024, and business travel will be the last mark of that. And so there's hotel occupancy tax that we look at. That's the number of heads and beds. And then there's RevPAR, which is revenue per available room. And the last indicator is average daily rate. So, and that is for our entire landscape of lodging properties. So hotel occupancy tax, those will be the first numbers that we see start to rise, and slowly we'll see RevPAR hopefully behind that, and then the true signs of recovery is when that average daily rate returns to those 2019 numbers where they are. For the month of January, taking a closer look at what it means for us here in Nacogdoches, hotel occupancy tax was still down by 9%, but that is the first time in 12 months that our deficit has been in a single digit. So we're taking that as a win. We'll get February numbers in 2 weeks, and we expect those to be higher. It sounds horrible and we hate it, but those times of natural disasters, hurricanes and ice storms, that fills our hotels, and that spikes our indicators for us. We are taking nominations currently for Bright Star Awards as a reminder in commemoration of the CVB's 25th anniversary in 2021. We are awarding individuals and businesses, one of each of those per month, recognition as a Bright Star recipient. Last month's was the Cottage Bistro and Wine Bar and Nicole Bradford, that's newspaper, Taylor Bradford at Front Porch Distillery. So if you know somebody in our community that helps to advance the cause of tourism in Nacogdoches or enhances it, please reach out and let us know. This last Friday, we had our first Nac Snack Fridays, which is food trucks and live music behind the CVB in the Plaza de Principal. And it was an outstanding success. The CVB partnered with Main Street. And so hats off to Jessica and Bethany, as well as Joanna and Ashley, for really bringing to downtown a resurgence of energy and life and fun times. We saw a lot of people that will be repeated the fourth Friday of every month, a different live band, different food trucks. We're trying hard to bring food trucks in from outside of the area as well. We block off Pilar Street. You bring your chair, you can enjoy some really great food, sometimes some adult beverages, and really great local music, which helps us reinforce our designation as a Texas music-friendly destination through the governor's office. This weekend on the 5th will be the makeup date for Nac at Night drive-in movie experience, showing You've Got Mail. We had to postpone a couple of times due to weather. And so we're hoping the rain will hold off and we'll be able to complete our drive-in movie series for this season. Time moves forward on March the 14th, so we'll lose our ability to do drive-in movies, but that is going to transition us nicely into our summer 2021 summer concert series. And this first year, the inaugural year, it's going to be tribute bands from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Be on the lookout for more information about that. It'll be a ticketed event out at the airport. The first band on deck is Already Gone, an Eagles tribute band, and they are awesome. And then lastly, it is not too late, and I implore you to write your love letter to NAC. We are closing out the compilation of letters portions of that project and moving on to compiling them and getting that book into print so that we can hallmark this really special time in history where we've been able to find new appreciation for this great community that we are blessed to be a part of. Ashley will put some information over in the comments section, so check that out and enjoy your week. Thanks for making a difference.
Thank you, Sherry. Appreciate that report. I did happen to see the city manager, Mario Canizares, on the phone. Mario, are you available?
I am, Wayne. You're pretty sleuthy. Can't get anything past you. Can you hear me okay?
Just fine, sir.
Good. So, hey, this will be a real quick report. I know Sherry covered a lot of information happening with the events, but and she may have said it already. I'm sorry, I was running late in a previous meeting or meeting previously. City Council did review a good full event schedule for 2021 and gave us the green light to proceed with having those events in 2021. So we're excited about that, knowing that we've got to be flexible because you never know where the pandemic may go, but we're excited about putting our best foot forward and making sure that these events are done in a safe fashion, and also articulated to the public that schedules may change or things may be delayed or canceled at the last moment, but I think we'll give it a go and see how things go. In regards to other things coming up with City Council, we do have our meeting tonight. One of the items on their agenda tonight is to approve the terminal area plan for our airport. And what it is a capital improvements plan for the future, as far as capital improvements that are needed to build out our airport, whether it's a new entrance or a new terminal, maybe some additional parking. And so that will be sort of our master plan that they'll be reviewing and hopefully adopting tonight, this evening. And then once we have that in place, then we can use that as we go and pursue funds through TxDOT Aviation, along with private funds. So it's a good opportunity, good thing for our community, good thing for our airport. Really excited about it. So that's all I really have to cover. Covered a lot about the activities from the storm last week, but just to give everyone an idea is that we're going to be going through an after action review of just the operational calls that were made during that week, along with vulnerability assessment of our critical infrastructure to look at what failed, why it failed, and how do we avoid that from happening again. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the city manager? Well, I just have a comment to make, and that is I want to commend you and your outstanding staff for keeping everybody informed through the process. The updates were very much appreciated, and I realized that this was not on your to-do list when you arrived here, but you certainly handled this thing very capably, Mario, and we thank you and your colleagues for all the hard work during this time.
Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate it. Our staff did a great job, and really proud of working with SFA, the county school district, and certainly all the volunteer agencies that assisted our community to weather the storm, literally. So I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And speaking of folks that did a great job through this price, how about the president and CEO of the Texas Forest Country Partnership, Nancy Windham? Good morning, Nancy.
Good morning. Thank you so much. I have the pleasure and honor and fun of being in Nacogdoches in all of the cleanup and the disaster recovery and the community coming together. We were right in the middle of it. So kudos again to the city and to the county and to all the partners that have come together to keep us all going. Great job. And I couldn't help but think, but when we're working on projects, we're often asked a question: how does this community respond to disasters? Do you have the first responders trained in chemical cleanups or whatever? So I think it looks really good to say, hey, we bounce back, we survive, we persevere, and we come out on top. Joined in just me. But anyway, that's to open up a comment about regionalism. I spoke at length yesterday with Kelly about some things, and I know we've had this conversation with Wayne, and I do see Wayne and Roger. Roger's still online. He's muted, but Roger, feel free to join in if you would like to. We are the region's representatives. Roger and Wayne are our directors, but I cannot express enough support for looking at things also beyond your borders, and look at our region and look at our state. You have counties that surround you that support you, and I know you support them, and without everybody's success, with everybody's success, we're going to be stronger and better and a bigger voice. That's a great step into the legislative part. For this report, I have asked the chamber if it would be okay just to put me on the agenda for once a month to report out on a regional basis from several entities. And I have spoken with them about this. I don't know who all is on the form. I see Karen. I have spoken with Mark, but thought it would be a good idea. We're inundated with everybody wanting to help each other and for services that you just think, oh my gosh, if I get another email, I'm going to die. But all of it is really good information. So what the Forest Country Partnership would like to do is compile all of this together and have a link with links that go for different parts of services. You've talked about disaster recovery. NEDCO has 2 people dedicated to the disaster recovery efforts. So they have information that they want to share. I'm not going to go into all of those details today, but what we are going to do is send that document with the link to the chamber, to the chamber, and then the chamber will get it out to everybody, and you can go through there and pick out or either review those at your leisure or when needed, so we can all work together, and I'll give you some more information of what's out there beyond Nacogdoches County. Nacogdoches County is a leader in our region, and very proud of that. These calls have brought a focus to the forefront, and we have shared that information out with our other counties. I mentioned NEDCO, so let me give you a list of those entities that are willing to participate in that. This is NEDCO, Workforce Solutions of Deep East Texas, the Small Business Development Center, the Texas Department of Agriculture, and of course the governor's office. Betty gives a report normally every meeting, and the Workforce Commission, and then our Texas Forest Trail region, which Sherry shares some of those as well. But to get a regional and a statewide perspective, I think is important, but not to take up the length of the time to talk about Nacogdoches and Nacogdoches County. So we will connect in that way with those links. 2 things I would like to bring to your attention that are short fused is that NEDCO, and Kelly is provided or is going to provide a link to that. There is a grant writing webinar, and it is March the 9th and 10th. NEDCO had sent that out, and they did not know if y'all were aware of that, but it's for people that are individuals that want to learn more about how to find grant money and how to write for grants. And it is a 2-day training session. Deep East Texas is sponsoring that. Those are the type of that's the type of information that we'll be sending out there in one link. And also just wanted to remind you that the Junior League of Lufkin is hosting a job fair for businesses. We're going to get some more information. We'll get that information out to you this afternoon. That's just a reminder. The Texas Forest Country Partnership was granted a year participation in a group called Catch a Fire. Please look at that link when you see that. There are many services for towns, communities, and cities that they have assistance free of charge that could come in and help us with that. So I'm depending on you to reach out to us and say, this is a need we have. Can you help us find support with complimentary support? And we will facilitate that for you and with you. So that's just a broad, I won't take up any more of your time, but be looking for that communication. I did talk to Lonnie. Lonnie says, Nancy, I would very much like to be on the agenda sometime to give an update about the broadband and about the disaster recovery. So this will be just information that's available to you, but more in-depth information can come directly from them as they are invited to be a speaker on this call. So it's a pleasure to serve you. Very proud of Nacogdoches and Nacogdoches County, always will be. But it's great to serve you and bring all the connections together. There are a lot of legislative bills that we're watching. We're not a lobbyist, but we provide information that would hopefully provide the best opportunity for our legislators to make a decision on those bills. So with that said, I will open it up for any questions. You can either email me or ask me now. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Nancy. Any questions of Nancy?
Oh, one other thing that we have gotten a call, excuse me for interrupting, is that, just so you'll know, one of our most distressed and disadvantaged counties in the region, we got a project lead, and it is moving quite nicely down the road. It was limited to 2 of our counties that are positioned in a certain area. But this is great news for this county. This will bring potentially a couple of hundred brand new jobs to that county. So all of the partners are working together to make sure that happens. They know they have the support of all of the region, because it will put more money into families' pockets, and it's just a trickle effect. So thank you so much.
That's great news, Nancy. Rising tide lifts all ships. So there you go. East Texas will benefit. So thank you, Nancy. I appreciate that. I do want to call your attention to the chat section of this platform. There's a lot of good information being provided by our colleagues here on the call. In addition, I want to remind you that the conference calls are sponsored by Austin Bank, and we do appreciate their continued support of these conference calls. I see that we're fortunate to have the president and CEO of the Nacogdoches Economic Development Corporation, Larissa Philpot, on the call. Good morning, Larissa.
Good morning, Wayne. Just wanted to give some quick notes about round 2 of the PPP loan programs. President Biden has released some new standards that the Small Business Administration is currently administering. There is a very large change in the program for our sole proprietors, independent contractors, and self-employed folks who file a Schedule C on their taxes. Previously, they were required to use their net income, which would be line 31, to calculate their income. So you would multiply 2.5 times that net income, and that's what they were eligible for their PPP loan. Well, if your business had a loss in 2019, that number was 0. So in these new regulations, they are allowing sole proprietors and folks who file a Schedule C to calculate using their gross income, so line 7. So you don't have to take out taxes and expenses in that calculation, which should open up the PPP loans to many, many more businesses. I know I spoke to several sole proprietors who just weren't eligible for it because of that calculation. They also have limited this second round of applications until March 10th to only small businesses. So that's businesses with less than 20 employees. So the Hilton hotels and Hyatts and Shake Shacks and those folks won't be eligible until sometime in the middle of March, which is good because that allows our bankers to work with these small businesses first. Additionally, there was some confusion about non-citizen lawful residents. So folks who are in the United States lawfully with green cards and visas, filing taxes through a tax identification number and not a social security number, they were not eligible previously, or there was a lot of confusion about that. And the Small Business Administration is working on clarifying that process so that anyone who is legally in the United States will be eligible for this funding for their small business. Don't have a whole lot of details on that stuff, but again, just as I preached several months, a year ago now, we've been here for a year, talk to your bankers. If you weren't eligible for this program before, you might be eligible at this point due to those changes. Thank you, Wayne. Wayne, I think you're muted.
Well, there you go. This is still new technology to this old dog. So I do appreciate that. Thank you, Larissa, for that report. I appreciate it. I don't think that Betty Rousseau was able to join us from the governor's office. I'll just double check. Betty, are you on the line by chance? Roger Lindsey, have you got a moment to kind of give us a sense of what's going on with Oncor these days?
I do. Hang on. Let me see if I can get this video working. You there? You see me now?
Yes, sir.
You not want to see me now. So we have recovered. Last couple of weeks has been a challenge for us, as it has been for everybody. I would just give you a really quick rundown in Deep East Texas, in our Luck and Nacogdoches and my 9 surrounding cities. We were involved in what we would call the perfect storm, and 3 different storms. We had a cold weather event, we had an ice storm, and in the middle of all that, we had both of them. So we really didn't know at one point how many people were out of power, just because they were either rolling through some outages to keep the Texas grid online. I'm going to tell you a stat here that might be a little interesting to you, but we were 0.02% of losing the entire grid in the state of Texas. We were about 4 minutes away from losing the entire grid in the state of Texas. And if you don't know what that means is we lose compressor stations for gas. We lose all water. Electricity is important for a lot of different facilities, but we lose infrastructure such as gasoline, getting food to grocery stores, and it could have been a really, really bad situation for the state of Texas, but Oncor played our part. You may have seen some of our CEO was down in Austin last week talking to our Senate and House of Representatives committees, helping them to understand what the TDUs, you may have heard of what a TDU is Texas Transmission and Distribution Utility Delivery Company is what a TDU is, such as us or Entergy or AEP or Texas New Mexico Power or something like that. But to answer your question, Wayne, we have recovered. We don't have any outages going on, or if there are any right now, it's very few. We started our storm on March the 14th, basically, here in East Texas. That was a Sunday. And we finished it about on the 23rd of March, which was a Wednesday, I believe. And we brought in 250, 300 resources from Alabama Power and Light. This was a storm that affected Oncor system-wide. Most of you know that we go from far west Texas to East Texas to the Red River down to about Austin and down here at Diboll. We had 1.3 million customers out of power during the peak of the rolling outages to try to save the grid. And when all of that came back on, we had about 100,000 customers out of power, and 25,000 of those were here in Deep East Texas. And we want to show our appreciation to our community partners. Worked really well with Mr. Canizares and Dr. Gordon at SFA. They were able to house our folks that came in from Alabama Power. We worked really well with the judge and Anita out at the expo to set up a staging center. And it was really, it's amazing what goes on during those really times of bad times, I guess, when we don't have any power. But we did have a plan. We worked our plan, and it just took longer for us to get power back on than we thought it would, just simply because this storm was the largest storm that Oncor has ever experienced in our 100-year history. So some people were out of power for 6 or 7 days. Some people were lucky and only out for a couple of days. But I appreciate everybody's patience. Thank you for all that you've done in the community to help bring everybody back to where we are today. And I wish I could see all of you in person because I miss you all. But bear with us as we will continue to work with our cities and our counties, our elected officials, as we work through these issues of how can this never happen again. So that's kind of where we are, Wayne. I appreciate you giving me the time.
And Roger, I want you to know that your communications during this was extraordinary. I mean, I got the frequency of your updates, and we were able to distribute those in an innovative way through this process. But I've got to tell you that I've never been more impressed with the frequency and the accuracy of your updates. You know, it gave people confidence that the problem was being worked, and that this was just an interruption in our lives that wouldn't last forever. And I got to tell you, you personally just rose to the occasion it was really impressive.
Thank you, Wayne.
Roger.
Appreciate
Can you repeat that statistic again that you started off with, if you don't mind?
Well, having said all of that, is there any further comments or reports from any of our participants? I will remind you that this call has been recorded and will be posted on the Chamber website later today. I also want to thank our friends at Austin Bank for their sponsorship of these calls. And I also want to let you know that the chat section is ready and able. There's lots of great information and links that have been posted there. I'm going to refer you to that as well. And I wish you all a successful and happy week. Nancy Windham, at some point, I would be interested in having Lonnie deliver an update on the broadband situation. And if we can get that on the radar screen, that'd be great. And if any of you have suggestions for other presenters, let me know and we'll be glad to approach them. Again, thank all of you for all you're doing and have a great week.